A battle between Voldemort, the most feared dark wizard in the Harry Potter universe, and Moiraine Damodred, the legendary Aes Sedai of the Wheel of Time, would be a clash of two completely different magical systems. It would not just be a contest of raw power, but also of adaptability, intelligence, and strategy. Voldemort is a master of wand magic, specializing in dark curses, combat spells, and powerful enchantments, while Moiraine wields the one power, drawing from the very fabric of reality itself. The question is not simply who is stronger, but who would be able to counter the other's abilities first and gain the upper hand before it was too late. The one power versus wand magic. Voldemort's magic comes from his innate talent, knowledge, and the use of a wand. He is one of the most powerful wizards to ever live, capable of casting lethal spells, moving faster than most opponents, and manipulating dark magic to extend his life. His ability to use the Killing Curse, Cruciatus Curse, and Imperious Curse makes him extremely dangerous in battle, and his expertise in wand dueling allows him to react instantly to threats. However, his magic is still bound by the rules of spellcasting. He needs a wand to channel his power effectively, and he relies on spoken or nonverbal incantations to trigger his spells. Moiraine, on the other hand, does not need a wand or spoken words to weave her magic. As an Aes Sedai, she channels the one power, drawing from Sedar to manipulate fire, air, water, earth, and spirit. Her attacks do not rely on individual spells, but rather on her ability to weave these elements together into complex and powerful effects. She can unleash destructive fire, summon lightning from the sky, create shields of air to deflect attacks, and weave illusions or wards to mislead and trap enemies. The one power grants her far greater versatility than traditional wizard magic, and because it is fueled directly by the energy of the universe, it does not require external tools like a wand. Raw strength and magical endurance. Voldemort is undeniably strong in his world, able to defeat most opponents in mere seconds. His magic is direct, lethal, and fast. He can fire multiple spells in quick succession, counter enemy attacks almost instantly, and use powerful dark magic to reinforce his durability. His Horcruxes grant him a form of immortality, making him difficult to kill outright. However, his power still has limits. Prolonged magical battles wear down even the strongest wizards, and his reliance on a wand means that if he were to lose it or have it destroyed, he would be severely weakened. Moraine's strength is not just in her raw power, but in her ability to endure long battles. As a wielder of the one power, she does not simply cast spells. She draws from an endless source of energy, meaning she can fight for extended periods without tiring the way a wizard might. The one power can also be used to enhance her physical abilities, allowing her to react faster, resist fatigue, and even sense magical threats before they strike. Unlike Voldemort, she does not rely on external objects to channel her magic, meaning she cannot be disarmed in the way a wizard can. Combat styles and strategies. Voldemort fights with precision and speed. His ability to strike instantly with the Killing Curse makes him incredibly dangerous in one-on-one combat. He often aims to eliminate opponents before they even have a chance to react, using his mastery of wand dueling to counter attacks and unleash deadly spells. His ability to teleport via apparition gives him a mobility advantage, allowing him to strike from different angles and evade attacks with ease. His greatest strength is his ability to adapt, learning his opponent's weaknesses and exploiting them mercilessly. Moiraine, on the other hand, does not rely on direct dueling tactics. She is a strategist first and a warrior second, meaning she would never engage in a battle without preparing in advance. She would likely set traps, weave defensive wards, and use illusions to disorient her opponent before striking. Her ability to control the battlefield through environmental magic, such as calling down lightning or shifting the ground beneath her enemy's feet, makes her a far more unpredictable opponent than Voldemort is used to facing. She would not rely on brute force, but rather on misdirection, endurance, and attrition to wear Voldemort down. Defensive abilities and countermeasures. Voldemort's primary defense is his ability to counter spells with his wand, use protective enchantments, and dodge attacks with his speed and reflexes. He has extensive knowledge of defensive charms and shielding spells, which allow him to deflect enemy magic or redirect attacks. However, his defenses are still based on wizarding magic, meaning he is used to fighting opponents who play by the same rules. Against a magic system as different as the One Power, it is unclear if his defenses would work as effectively. Moraine's defenses are significantly different. She does not rely on quick reactions to block attacks, but rather on wards, shields, and environmental control to keep herself protected. She could weave barriers of air to deflect Voldemort's spells, or she could disrupt the battlefield itself to prevent him from maintaining his offense. Since Aes Sedai can sense the flows of magic around them, she would likely be able to detect Voldemort's attacks before they struck, giving her time to weave countermeasures. Additionally, Moiraine has access to unbreakable magical artifacts that boost her power beyond her normal limits, allowing her to unleash magic far beyond what she could normally handle. Who has the edge in a straight fight? If Voldemort were able to fire the killing curse before Moiraine could react, he might win instantly. His magic is faster and more direct, giving him the advantage in a dueling scenario where quick reflexes determine the victor. If he caught Moiraine off guard, his speed and deadly spellcasting could overwhelm her before she had a chance to counter. However, if Moiraine had time to prepare the battlefield, weave defenses, or disrupt Voldemort's ability to cast, the fight would shift in her favor. She could create an environment where Voldemort's magic became unreliable or ineffective, preventing him from using his most dangerous spells. Since she does not require wands, verbal incantations, or spellbooks, she has far greater versatility in battle. Voldemort's greatest weakness is that he fights within the confines of wizarding magic, whereas Moraine's power is drawn from a completely different source, one that he does not understand or know how to counter. Final verdict: who would win? If the battle was based on raw speed and dueling ability, Voldemort would likely have the upper hand. His ability to cast spells almost instantly, combined with his lethal knowledge of the dark arts, would make him extremely difficult to defeat in a close-quarters fight. Moraine's combat style is not built for fast-paced magical dueling, meaning she would be at a disadvantage if caught off guard. However, if the battle took place over a longer period, or if Moiraine was given even a few moments to prepare, she would have the advantage. Her endurance, battlefield control, and mastery of defensive weaves would allow her to outlast and outmaneuver Voldemort. She could create a fight where his spells did not land, where his magic was neutralized before he could strike a killing blow, and where his biggest advantages were taken away. In an instantaneous duel, Voldemort would likely win. In a drawn-out battle of strategy and endurance, Moiraine would emerge victorious. Ultimately, Moraine's ability to fight on her own terms, rather than engaging in a straightforward wizard's duel, would likely make her the true winner in the end. The aftermath of a battle between Voldemort and Moiraine. A battle between Voldemort and Moiraine would not just be about who wins, it would have far-reaching consequences for both of their worlds. Whether Moiraine emerged victorious or Voldemort claimed another victim, the clash of their magical forces would leave lasting scars on the battlefield, shaping the future of magic in both universes. If Voldemort won, it would mark his greatest conquest, proving that his brand of magic is supreme. If Moiraine triumphed, it would be a clear victory for the One Power over wand magic, solidifying the Aes Sedai as forces beyond what even the Dark Lord could comprehend. If Voldemort won, if Voldemort managed to kill Moiraine, it would be a disaster for the world of the Wheel of Time. Moiraine is not just another Aes Sedai. She is a key figure in the fight against the Shadow, a guardian of prophecy, and one of the few people who understands the true stakes of the last battle. Her loss would leave a power vacuum, one that the Forsaken or even the White Tower itself would struggle to fill. Voldemort, now aware of the One Power, would likely seek to master it for himself. If he could understand the mechanics of Sadar and Sating, he might even try to harness it alongside his own dark magic, creating an even deadlier fusion of powers. The Dark Lord, already nearly invincible in his own world, would become unstoppable in the Westlands if he learned to use the One Power alongside his curses and enchantments. The Aes Sedai would likely band together to hunt him down. recognizing that he poses a threat unlike any they have ever faced. Even the Forsaken, immortal channelers from the Age of Legends, might be wary of him, as his ability to cheat death through Horcruxes would make him a dangerous rival even to them. If Voldemort turned his sights on the Dark One's forces, he might challenge them for power, seeing them as just another obstacle to his domination. If he chose instead to align himself with the Shadow, the world would be in even greater peril. The combination of Voldemort's dark magic and the Shadow's corruption would make the last battle even harder for Randall Thor and his allies to win. Voldemort, unlike the Forsaken, is not bound to the Dark One's will. He is entirely his own master. If he found a way to combine his own magic with the true power, he might even seek to overthrow the Dark One himself, replacing him as the ultimate force of evil. If Moiraine won, if Moiraine defeated Voldemort, it would be a major victory not just for her, but for the entire Westlands. Voldemort, despite his power, is not immortal without his Horcruxes. If Moiraine realized the nature of his soul anchors, she would methodically destroy them one by one, ensuring that he could never return. The battle itself would expose the limitations of Voldemort's magic, proving that while his spells are deadly, they are not all-powerful. Unlike in his own world, where wand-based magic follows a strict set of rules, Moraine's ability to channel directly from the source would allow her to counter Voldemort's magic in ways he could not predict. If Voldemort fell, his death would echo throughout both worlds, showing that even the most fearsome wizard can be defeated when faced with a power greater than his own. His followers, the Death Eaters, would be leaderless, likely scattering in fear without his influence. The White Tower and the Aes Sedai would study the remnants of Voldemort's magic, possibly gaining new insights into how different magical systems function. The knowledge of Horcruxes, curses, and wand-based magic would be a fascinating revelation to the scholars of the Brown Aja, though some might fear the implications of a new kind of dark magic seeping into their world. Moraine's victory would solidify her as one of the greatest battle channelers in history, proving that the One power surpasses wand magic in both strength and versatility. She would likely return to Randall Thor and the fight against the Shadow, bringing with her the knowledge of an enemy from another world, one who nearly conquered everything, but ultimately fell to wisdom, patience, and power wielded with purpose. The larger implications of a cross-universe battle, beyond just the fight itself, the existence of Voldemort and Moiraine in the same universe, would create unprecedented ripple effects. If a gateway were somehow opened between their worlds, it could mean that the Westlands and the Wizarding world are no longer isolated realms, but connected in ways never before imagined. The idea of Aes Sedai entering the Wizarding world, or powerful wizards learning about the One power, would be a monumental shift in magical history. Would witches and wizards try to harness Sadar and Satan? Would Aes Sedai seek to master wand magic in return? Could the Dark One influence Voldemort's followers, or would Voldemort's dark magic corrupt the very fabric of reality in Rand's world? If Voldemort's legacy continued beyond his death, perhaps through his Horcruxes or followers attempting to resurrect him in the Westlands, it could mean that the threat of the Dark Lord never truly ends. Even in defeat, his influence could linger, altering the course of magic for generations to come. On the other hand, if Moraine's knowledge of the Wizarding world spread, it could change how the Aes Sedai view their own magic, perhaps leading to a deeper understanding of magical forces beyond the pattern itself. Fear versus control. Beyond their magical abilities, Voldemort and Moiraine differ significantly in their psychological approach to battle. Voldemort thrives on fear, using intimidation and brutality to dominate his enemies. His reputation alone is enough to make even the bravest hesitate, and his mastery of legilimency allows him to exploit weaknesses in the minds of his opponents. His sheer presence instills dread, making many of his foes lose before the battle even begins. Moiraine, in contrast, relies on control, patience, and foresight. As an Aes Sedai, she understands the value of subtlety in planning. Unlike Voldemort, who seeks immediate victory through aggression, Moiraine ensures that she has control over the battlefield long before the fight starts. If she had any warning of Voldemort's arrival, she would set traps, weave deceptive illusions, and manipulate the environment to turn the battle in her favor. She is not driven by fear, but by duty and logic, which would make her highly resistant to Voldemort's psychological warfare. The possibility of Voldemort using the One Power. One of the most fascinating questions that arises from this battle is whether Voldemort, through his cunning and hunger for power, could find a way to wield the One Power himself. Magic in the wizarding world and the One Power function on entirely different principles. Voldemort's magic relies on innate talent, learned spells, and a wand, whereas the One Power is drawn from the pattern itself, accessible only to those who can channel. If Voldemort could learn to channel, he would become even more dangerous, as he would no longer be limited by wand-based magic. However, there is no evidence that a wizard from his world could suddenly develop the ability to use the One Power. A more likely possibility is that Voldemort would seek to control those who could channel. He could use the Imperious Curse to bend channelers to his will or seek out an Angrio to artificially amplify his magical capabilities. If he discovered the existence of Satan and the male channelers who wield it, he might even attempt to manipulate them for his own ends. Beyond the One Power, there is the terrifying prospect of Voldemort discovering the true power, the dark energy granted by the Dark One himself. Given Voldemort's thirst for absolute power, he might be tempted to use it despite its terrible cost. This would bring him into direct conflict with the Forsaken and possibly even the Dark One himself. What if Voldemort and Moiraine joined forces? While the idea of Voldemort and Moiraine fighting against each other is compelling, an equally intriguing scenario is what would happen if they chose to work together. If Voldemort found himself in Moraine's world, he would likely seek to establish dominance rather than destroy everything outright. His ambition knows no limits, and he might attempt to manipulate Moiraine into helping him achieve his goals, much as he did with his followers in the wizarding world. However, Moiraine is far more perceptive than many of Voldemort's past victims. She would recognize his manipulative nature and refuse to be his pawn. The only circumstance in which they might form an uneasy alliance is if a greater threat emerged, one that neither could handle alone. If the Dark One's power grew beyond control, or if Voldemort found himself hunted by the Forsaken, they might temporarily put aside their differences. Even so, their partnership would be one of constant tension, as neither would ever fully trust the other. Final thoughts. At its core, a battle between Voldemort and Moiraine would not just be about who is stronger, faster, or more dangerous. It would be a battle between two completely different ideologies of power and control. Voldemort represents domination, fear, and the ruthless pursuit of immortality at any cost. He believes that power is meant to be taken and used to control others, and he will go to any lengths to ensure its survival. His magic is direct, efficient, and brutal, designed for immediate destruction rather than endurance. Moiraine represents wisdom, patience, and the idea that power must be used responsibly. She is not just a wielder of magic, but a guardian of fate, using her abilities to preserve the balance of the world rather than rule it. Her magic is fluid, intricate, and adaptive, designed to outlast, outmaneuver, and ultimately overcome brute force with intelligence and strategy. This battle would not just be a fight between two powerful magic users. It would be a clash of philosophies, legacies, and the very nature of what it means to wield magic itself. In the end, Moraine's strategic mind and endurance would likely allow her to claim victory, but not without a fierce, unforgettable battle that would shake the foundations of both their worlds.